This is a topic that's important, as I already mentioned, because we are now in a period where we need to come to a new understanding after this long crisis. We might have lived with our loved ones more closely than before, and we have to figure out how to do that. We also may have to develop a new relationship with our work as the COVID crisis gradually winds down. Let me just find the PowerPoint. Just a moment. There it is. So I have to share it with you. So the topic of today is about relationships. Now, if we are living with another person, it's important first that we understand them well, and then we can more easily live with them. And the interesting thing is that the Buddha in Buddhism, Buddhism has the reputation of being a monastic religion, which cares mostly for celibacy and letting go of the world. But in fact, the Buddha did teach many things about how to take care of your loved ones and how to have a healthy and happy family life. So let us just dive into that. If you are living as a single person, I mean, if you are single, or if you prefer a life of solitude, then that's pretty good. That's nothing wrong with that. But today I just would like to emphasize our relationships. And if you are not married or you don't have a partner, then you can maybe use these teachings to develop a better relationship with your parents or with other people who are significant in your life. So the Buddha, he taught 4 principles in a famous question and answer dialogue, which he held in at a certain point in his life. He was asked about important principles in life, and he answered. He talked about these 4 principles as a way to live together in harmony, as a way for people to live together in a way that is fruitful and that is helpful. It's important to realize that as we are learning about these 4 principles, that they are principles to apply to ourselves. It may sometimes be a little bit attractive to use them to analyze and criticize another person. But if we apply them to ourselves, we can develop more transformation, because it's starting by transforming ourselves is often the most direct and most fruitful approach to any change in our lives. So these principles are known as the Gharavasa-Dhamma, or the good principles for householders or people with a roof above their head, as opposed to monastics who are more not so much connected to a house. So the word Kalavasa simply means a person who is not a monastic. There are 4 principles, and these are very important in any relationship. So I think that if any relationship coach and therapist would study about these 4 principles, their therapies and their guidance would be very perfect and complete. First of all, there is truthfulness, or simply truth, or in the Pali language, in the ancient Indian language, sacca. Now, first of all, we have to realize that if we talk about living together in a truthful way, it's not easy to live together. It's not always easy. The Buddha himself, he compared people living together with a person wearing many bracelets, at a certain point they're going to damage, because all of these bracelets in one single arm, they're going to hit each other, and the bracelets are going to get damaged. Or another comparison, which is often made in Thai language by the Thai teachers, is that when you have a tongue and you have teeth in the same mouth, in other words, the mouth is sharing the teeth and the tongue, teeth and the tongue are sharing the same space, then sooner or later you're going to bite your tongue. It's just a matter of time. In other words, we all have to live together in some way or another if we are going to get married or have a partner. But it's not always easy. There's bound to be some conflict, and that's only natural. It's not really very sinful or something. It's just part of the process. But how do we deal with that in the proper way? First, we need truth, sacca. This is, first of all, to dissolve and to solve the most important reason why relationships are broken or why families are broken, because of suspicion. If we have any suspicions about the other person, we don't feel comfortable. It's every meeting that we have with the other person is just awkward and difficult, because we are just not comfortable. We do not know what the other person's gonna do next. This is very serious if we have suspicion in our family life. Therefore, it's important that we develop truthfulness. At any moment in your life, if you feel that there is something you're doing which you cannot share with your family, which you have to keep a secret, you really have to ask yourself the question, is this worth it? Because this is really something that is intrinsically connected with your family life, to be truthful to one another. In fact, truthfulness is one of the five precepts, which are sometimes they're translated as precepts. Sometimes they are called mindfulness practices. The five precepts are like the basic sila, or the basic guiding principles in leading a moral and ethical life. And one of them is being truthful in your speech. But in fact, there is other ways we can be truthful in our lives. And our teachers have distinguished at least four areas in which it's important to be truthful in our lives. First of all, in your duties and work. And I think in the modern day, with a lot of industrialization going on, with many societies becoming more and more affluent, becoming more and more economically prosperous, we are becoming more and more sincere in our work, and we try to do our work to the best of our ability to compete with our co-workers, to compete with other companies and other families. This is therefore kind of a thing that is evident, and people tend to understand it quite easily. However, sometimes speech is not always truthful, as I just mentioned. This not only holds for our family life, but even our work and other areas of our life. Truthfulness is a quality that will help us a lot. If we can avoid lying altogether, that's the best. But if you are in a difficult situation where you feel that the truth might hurt, of course, we do not always need to speak the truth. The Buddha even said that the truth need not always be spoken, but we should not lie. But if we are in a situation where the truth might hurt, sometimes it's best not to speak, but we shouldn't lie. In some cases, however, the truth may heal. If we have somebody who we know is seriously ill, we might try to keep the truth from them so they might feel better for the moment. But in the long term, they might suffer a lot when they are not confronted with their illness. So it's better sometimes to sacrifice and sometimes it's a little dangerous to our friendship with somebody, but it's better for the long term if we speak the truth now. So in the long term, the other person can heal. So there's a story in the Buddhist text with two people called Jyotipala and Katikara. And these two are friends. And then at a certain point, one of the two is developing a lot of faith in the Buddha. And then the other person doesn't believe in the Buddha. He doesn't believe that the Buddha is a good person. One person tries to persuade the other person to learn more about meditation and a good life, but he doesn't want to listen about it. Doesn't want to know about it. He's not open to it. At a certain point, Katikala then actually is so persuasive because he's really uh, willing to sacrifice his own friendship in order to point out the arrogance of his friend. Not so much in that he's not accepting of the Buddha, but because he actually looked down on the Buddha because he was a monk, and that he believed that all monks were just sort of low caste, were a low life kind of person, which is a belief in India in some groups. So in order to really push somebody to the truth, sometimes we need to do and sacrifice our friendship. But in generally, truth is not always the hard path, but it may sometimes be, and that's something we shouldn't avoid. If we often learn to speak the truth and are willing to take the extra mile for that, we also will be able to use truth in building character, developing good habits. And finally, that will amount to developing good relations with people. If we often are truthful to ourselves in these areas of our life, we will also be truthful to others, as the famous statement made by Shakespeare: if you are only to yourself be true, then you will always be true to others. The other qualities follow naturally from truth, but it's important to be aware of them. One important thing is that when we live together, it's very difficult to live together without changing yourself at all. If you are going to choose a relationship or a long-term engagement with somebody, then we need to understand that you cannot just completely be yourself all the time, even though that may be an ideal. And we feel that the other person kind of makes us feel like we can be ourselves. However, if we do not adapt to the other person at all, in any relationship, then it's going to be difficult. When we are adjusting ourselves to any relationship, whether it be a marriage or even in a team when we are working for our profession, for our job, if we are working in a team, then we also need to adjust. If we are engaging in any difficult task and it requires teamwork, it requires work with other people, then we need to make adjustments to make sure that we fit in and make sure that we can live with the other person and work with them. Somebody once asked Lompao Tamachayo, our abbot, what kind of advice he would give to a couple that was going to get married. And he simply said, love each other at the same time, but be angry at a different time. I think this is very profound, you know. He said, you know, we cannot always stop being angry, but at least be angry at a different time. You know, just time your anger a little bit better. Because as they often say in emotional intelligence council, they often say that the person who is emotionally intelligent will know that sometimes it's not the right time to be angry. Because if one person is angry, that's already quite bad. But if two people are angry at the same time, things are going to get worse and worse, and things are going to escalate. So sometimes we may not be able to control our mood completely, but at least choose the right time, and then it will be easier to live together. When we are a child, we grow a lot, we adjust a lot, we learn a lot about the world, but this ability to adjust and to engage in self-development is becoming less when we grow up. However, because of meditation, we can regain some of that flexibility, some of that strength when we were a child. I mean, the same kind of strength as we were when we were still a child. This kind of strength is sometimes also called plasticity in among neurologists. Plasticity of the brain is the ability of the brain to develop and adjust. And this plasticity is generally considered to become less and less as we grow older. But in recent research about meditation, in fact, not that recent, for a while now, people have discovered that plasticity actually increases when we meditate more often. Therefore, we are able to learn more, adjust better, and improve our lives better because our brain is simply becoming stronger, becoming more flexible and able to adjust. Of course, our brain is just a reflection of our mind. It's like the office where our mind works. But I'm just speaking the language of science here to communicate the point that we can all easily, more easily adjust and change if we have the habit of meditating often. The other points, the other two qualities are also very important. Khanti means patience. I already talked about sometimes we have to resist becoming angry. There's two kind of things that we need to take with us in our lives if we want to be happy. First of all, sometimes there's difficulty, but we need to persist. Then there's also sometimes temptation, not difficult situations in the sense that they are agreeable, that they're nice, but they're tempting. We need to resist to remain to our good and fruitful path. To stick to that, we need to resist. Persisting and resisting is not the same habit. Some people, for example, soldiers, they are usually trained to persist despite all difficulty. But resisting despite temptation is more of a quality associated with monks. Nevertheless, sometimes we all need to be in our lives, need to wear the uniform of a soldier or wear the uniform of a monk when we have difficult circumstances. Sometimes we are almost giving up, then we need to persist, remind ourselves of our goals. Sometimes we give up because of difficult circumstances. Sometimes we tend to give up because of things that draw us in, that tempt us, that ask us to indulge. Then we need to resist. It's a way of thinking, feeling, and being. Meditation helps us to develop more patience. So, but patience is not only about being able to wait, being able to sit things out, being able to uh, to let go. It's also about committing to a good and happy life, and not giving in. I once knew a neighbor of mine who was a very handsome man, and he was very happily married. Later on, they moved to another place, to another country, and he became a teacher. And they had a very good marriage. I don't know what happened, but later on, I heard the news that he got into a relationship with a very young student at his school, at his university where he was teaching. And because of that relationship, which was very difficult to maintain, the marriage also broke apart. Everything that they had built up, including everything that they needed to live in that country, it all fell apart because of the fact that he fell in love, or that maybe he was tempted, I don't know, by the student. So if we only care for our short-term happiness, sometimes our long-term happiness is destroyed. So khanti is not only about getting through a difficult situation by just biting our teeth together, grinding our teeth together. It's also about knowing the long aim, knowing the long goal, the long-term goal. And that is why khanti is also a sort of, is kind of infused with sort of wisdom. So I'm going to skip through some of these, but I would like to finish with the last quality, which is very important in any relationship, but is not so much emphasized as the other three qualities when it comes to therapy, when it comes to the sort of coaching which you can find online or which you can find on Dr. Phil or any other kind of popular television program about relationships. Generosity is very important in Buddhism, and it's about self-sacrifice. In any relationship, we need some self-sacrifice. If we are not willing to share, we always need to stick to our own budget, our own money, our own things, and we never share anything, then it's very difficult to live together. So always remind yourself that sharing, giving is not only about who is superior and who is inferior. In fact, that is not at all important. It's more about the more we share, the broader our mind becomes and the better we are as a person. Therefore, there is no real giving away of anything when we give something, because we are actually always gaining something when we give. So these are the four qualities of living together. In short, they are known in Thai as the Gharavasa-Dhamma, which originates from the Pali language. Gharavasa, which means householder or person who is not a monastic, and Dhamma, which means good principles. I would like to end with a poem to finish and wrap it up for today. If you were, this is an anonymous poem from American sources. If you were busy being kind, before you knew it, you would find you'd soon forget to think it was true that someone was unkind to you. If you were busy being glad and cheering people who are sad, although your heart might ache a bit, you'd soon forget to notice it. If you were busy being good and doing just the best you could, you'd not have time to blame some man who's doing just the best he can. If you were busy being right, you'd find yourself too busy quiet to criticize your neighbor long because he's busy being wrong. So this is a very nice poem to end with. And I would like to remind everyone to meditate every day, and it will help you not only in your to improve your mind, but it will also help you to develop more stable relationships. And if you already have stable relationships, it will help you to be more happy in those relationships. So this is what I would like to talk about today. Maybe there's time for a question or two.
Well, it seems that no one has a question right now. So this was a very inspirational session for us all. I bet everyone has learned something or a lot of things from this session. So in order to thank our teaching monk, let us bring our palms together and say Namaskaran to thank him. 1, 2, 3, Namaskaran. Yes, and now before we leave, let's all take a picture together. So I would like to request everyone to please turn on your cameras and then put your palms together, and I'll count from 1 to 10, and then our staff will take the picture. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, thank you. So everyone, don't forget to share good energy to gather here at Mind Journey every Wednesday. Please come back next week. Yes.
I would like to wrap up by saying that I have another English language teaching coming up, and that is this Sunday at 1 o'clock. So if you are interested, I can pass along the information to Lumpi Pisit, to Lumpi Tam, who is normally guiding the program. This will be this Sunday. It's a program by the International Department. And this will be this Sunday at 1 o'clock European time, Central European time, which is 6 o'clock in the evening in Thailand. And so that's for this Sunday. And so just to announce that. And thank you all for your attention. And I would like to give you a good and healthy life. May you be healthy, happy, and prosperous in all the things you do. And may you have good relationships and happy family life. And wherever you go, may you find inner peace wherever you are.
Yes, thank you very much. And I hope everyone is able to join his program this Sunday and also come back next Wednesday for another session with us. Thank you all for joining us. See you next week.